Guys, welcome back to another episode of Always Making. Thanks for joining us here in the studio again, down in our basement. We've got another awesome guest down here with us. We are joined
Guys, it was a hot one today.
It was a hot one. It was over 100 today. I don't know if my brain's working 100%, but we have Spotted Fawn Baby Co. Joining us. We have Channing, the owner, creator, everything about that cool company. We're going to get into an awesome conversation about baby clothes and everything you're doing in that cool creative world. But before we do, you guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. If you guys know any local creative makers, artists, culinary, sewer, seamstress, all those cool people out there that are making cool stuff, send them our way. Let them know we would like to have a conversation. There's that side of it. Housekeeping for what we've got going on.
We have BCC Flea again in July 13th. Up at Brightonwood Canyon. Or
this should be also
Brightonwood? What? So, oh my goodness. At Brighton in Big Cottonwood Canyon. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was a hot one again, guys, today.
Well, our brains are all fried.
When we're recording this, yeah. This is, if it does come out before StickerCon, we're at StickerCon. I think this is the weekend before StickerCon. That is July 6th. Mm-hmm. So I think we are before. If not, then disregard this last message, guys.
Hope you were at StickerCon.
I hope we saw you at StickerCon. It was great.
That's a Copperhead vintage.
That's a Copperhead vintage. And then we are at DIY Fest. And then also you are now on your third piece working for
I'm currently working on my third piece for the 1330 Design Collective at Mill Creek Common, and then that'll be in September.
If you guys haven't seen it yet, Christy is doing her SOS vlog. That stands for
SOS by Steadfast Rebels, Sustainable Original Style.
Okay, and so that is kind of breaking down the whole process of what she's doing for the design competition and that fashion show.
Not competition. Design Collective.
Sorry, Design Collective.
Not a competition. I'm not competing.
But you guys want to follow that? That's available on our YouTube page as well. We have more coming out. We're trying to be every other week of the podcast, but don't hold us to that schedule. Things get busy in here, so we'll see how that goes. But that is, I think, everything for housekeeping. Okay, so let's get into the conversation about what you're doing here. Channing, go ahead, introduce yourself and how you all got started with making baby clothes.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I am thrilled to be on here and to join you and the other makers that have been on here previously. My name's Channing, and I started Spotted Fawn Baby Co. Almost 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years ago at the end of July.
Yay.
And, oh gosh, I feel like this is like a repeated story of pandemic woes and boredom.
You will be surprised at how many of our guests that come on here, and the pandemic was the reason that it got them that push over that edge to kind of do something.
I believe it.
I think it's that it's okay to be that repeat story for sure.
Yeah. Well, my pandemic story is I had my first kid in January of 2020.
Oh,
I thought I was going back to work and was prepping for it. And then the week that everything shut down, that was the week I was supposed to start back. And they're like, well, just work out of your basement. I said, okay. Cool. So I'm nursing a 10-week-old baby, going back to work. And I was in events. So my first day back to work was literally just canceling events.
I was going to say, no more events.
I just sat there. I didn't have a whole lot to do. And I had already, with the new baby coming and everything, like I'd been prepping in 2019, pre-pandemic, and I knew I wanted a cloth diaper. So I'd already really invested time and energy into learning how to cloth diaper, and I already started doing that. So when the pandemic diaper shortage came about, like I wasn't too worried about it. But I realized quickly I felt like I could make them. I thought like, oh yeah, I can figure out how to do this. I haven't sewn since high school. No, it would have been junior high. We made like
home ec
pillowcases. Oh yeah, home ec. I loved doing it, but it's 7th grade maybe last time I sewed anything for real, and I didn't have a machine at the time. So we went out and we bought a $20 serger. Not even a sewing machine. I just went full in on a serger.
I love it.
$20. So I'm taking secondhand at a thrift store. Is that
it was like probably just KSL.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So found somebody local that had an old serger that she didn't need anymore. Picked it up, and after I'd put the baby to bed after work every night, I'd spend a couple hours mindlessly trying to figure out how to thread it with these like 4 different threads on this machine, and like teaching myself how to sew. So I started making her cloth diapers and using a lot of like absorbent materials. And of course, once you start down that route, you quickly realize like, oh, I can make clothes with this machine. And so I just started playing around with some of the materials, and I bought a couple patterns and I tested out a couple things, and I was so excited I made her a pair of pants. And I just kind of like, it took off from there, where I was really into it. I spent a lot of time doing it. I like dove in deep on like learning how to do patterns, learning how to print fabric, because one of the things in the cloth diapering world, it was everything had to look cute.
Yes.
I mean, it's a poop catcher, but you want it to be cute because you're going to be looking at it on your kid's butt. You're the one changing it. You want it to look cute. So I spent a lot of time researching all the different surface pattern designers that actually make these designs that are printed on the fabric, and researching like, where do I find this fabric? What is the best kind of fabric to use? And I finally realized like, I can do this. And I think I knew early on that I wanted to do it as like a little side business, because I felt like it was something that gave me a lot of satisfaction. And I don't know, like sewing like clothing for your kid is just like, it gave it sounds so crazy, but it gave me like the biggest high.
No, I love it. We talk about like making things with your hands is just the best feeling in the world. Like you think it up in your head and then you make it in real life and you're like, I just did that. Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is one of those things where you say it like it's a high. I think a lot of makers can relate to that, because it is a thing that Christy says is like you have it in your head. You don't physically see something till it's like done, and you have that like sense of euphoria of like, I was able to make something with like my own abilities. And I mean, hey, that first time might have not been perfect kind of thing, but it was like, hey, let me get better, let me dive into it a little further, let me try a different method or try this and learn. And like as you kept diving in, it just gets better and better.
Yeah, and it did. And I learned more. I learned that I needed different machines, different equipment. I spent a lot of time just, YouTube videos and learning every chance I got. I found a local shop here in Salt Lake that actually teaches sewing classes. So I took some sewing classes from her, and it made me want to do it more. It's just like, I can't stop now.
It's that drug. You got hooked.
Right. I mean, we all needed something to obsess over, and during the pandemic, getting obsessed with cloth diapers, and it became soothing doing the cloth diapering with her. It gave me something to do. Like, you have to wash them, you have to fold them, you get to look at all these pretty patterns. So it really gave me, I don't know, a little sense of comfort during a tough time for all of us.
100%. I think sewing is like a very zen activity. Like I love just like putting my earbuds in, putting on an audiobook, and just like hours can pass by and I'm like, oh, look at that.
It's the same thing with screen printing for me. It's like I can sit there and I turn the music on, and all of a sudden I'm like 40-50 shirts deep, and we're like, let's go, like just keep putting that art on t-shirts and making fun stuff. But for you, how long did it take from like making it for your child to then actually saying, hey, I'm going to start selling this for other people?
I've been doing it like sewing total from the start of the pandemic till now for 5 years, a little over 5 years.
Okay.
And so it took me about 3 years to the point where I thought like, okay, I feel confident enough in my skills and that I know the regulations, which is another thing.
Yeah.
Compliance and regulations for kid clothing and stuff that your kids wear and have on is
Huge.
deep and immense and huge. And so I got compliant. I learned all the laws and the rules to make sure that what I'm making is up to snuff for all the kids to wear. So that took a lot of time learning that. But then about 2 years ago, I felt comfortable to just start. And I actually opened an Etsy shop to start, because I feel like that's where everybody starts. It was a great platform. It's like simple. I didn't have to like learn how to make a website. I didn't need to do any of my own marketing, which is, as I learned, not my strong suit.
Same.
We discuss that on here all the time. It's one of those low barrier for entries with it, and there are always great stories of people succeeding and moving past that point. But it is such an easy way for people to just put themselves out there and see where it goes. And if it's something you want to keep driving and growing bigger, there are plenty of ways to go out of that Etsy world, but there's also like a lot of success in that Etsy world. Again, not sponsored, guys. We're
Yeah, so it was a great little place to start, and then I'd read a lot about like how to get a shop started and everything, and I understood it'd probably take a little bit to get the first sale, but when I got the first sale, it was just, oh my gosh, absolute thrill. It probably took like a month and a half to finally get that first sale, and I was thrilled. I hand wrote them a big letter just like, thank you so much for being my first customer. I really appreciate this, and like learned how to package it and mail it. And of course, I never heard anything back from the person. I'm sure they didn't give me a review, but it was like somebody trusted me to be my number one and be that first little sales mark on your shop. And I'm like, okay, like we're doing this. We're really doing this. And I knew that I also wanted to do markets. That was big for me even before I opened the Etsy shop. I knew I really wanted to do in-person markets. And even before I started sewing, I think I always thought if I was going to be at a market, I was going to sell like fruits and vegetables and lettuce. And I was going to be like, here are my like
fresh
heirloom tomatoes, these like heirloom cherry tomatoes and all this kind of stuff. And that did not quite pan out. I still garden, have a big garden in the backyard, and the kids help out and love it, but different direction, but still at the markets. And I honestly really enjoy the markets part. It's a lot of work.
Yes.
I am learning it is a lot of work, but being at the markets and being able to like meet customers face to face and talk to them and help them figure out who are you buying for? What size are they in? Like, how big are they? You know, are you shopping for a girl or a boy? Is this a gift? Is this, something for your grandkids? So being able to help them figure out like what would work for them is like a huge benefit in being able to be on the customer facing side of things instead of like the sort of nameless person behind like an Etsy shop.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we've had hundreds of sales on our Etsy store, and they just go to somewhere and we're like, wow, this is going to this country or this is going to this state. That's really cool. But we never hear, or like a review's always awesome, but they're never guaranteed that we're getting a review from. But when we are at markets, it is one of those things where like, oh, there's someone who's actually interested and I can have a conversation with and actually see their like light up of like what you're selling. And so it
or
is
like even hear their story of like, oh, this is like I have this friend who's really gonna love this. Like, it's just fun having that back and forth, and it's just one-sided.
So how long from starting Etsy did you take to like start do your first market?
My first market was in December. It was a holiday market. December of I guess when 2023.
Okay. So.
Yeah, because this year's 25.
Whatever. I would say whatever year we're in right now.
Right? Yeah, so it would have been December of 2023, and it took me like 2.5 months to prep for my first market.
Okay.
And I had no idea what to expect. And I didn't really have a lot of things for setup. My husband built a wooden rack to hang the clothes on that looks cute. And I brought a table, and I didn't even have a tent at that point. I didn't need one for this market, which was great for somebody just starting out. And I had to figure out like the payments, in-person payments, and that kind of stuff. A lot of the new things that I hadn't had to do before. But I went to the market, set up. No expectations. Just if I sell one item like that would be amazing. And I sold so many things that I came home with like a handful of items.
That's awesome.
It almost
was
sold
much
out.
easier to pack than it was to load.
It was an easy pack day. That is for sure. Like it shocked me. And I'm like, okay, people like this stuff. Like I either found my local market that's working. I found something that's working, that's resonating with people, that they come into my little shop, they come into my little booth, and they like it. I'm like, okay, good. So I knew immediately, I'm doing more markets next year.
And so
Awesome.
How many markets are you doing now?
I generally do no more than 3 in a month. And I do take some time off around after the holidays and before spring. So I had some time off to just kind of slowly build up inventory for this season that we're in now.
Yeah.
And this year I'm doing like June till October, whatever month that is.
October, September.
It gets tough
Fine.
because I feel like there was like a designated market season that was like spring, summer, and then you had like a break, and then it was like holiday season. But now it feels like it all just kind of like bleeds. It's like, oh, now there's still markets in September. Okay, October. Okay, November we have markets. December. Like it all just like runs right through
There's so
the
many
holidays
different
now.
local markets that people have
Which
an
is awesome,
opportunity to
but-
apply to. And this year I've really narrowed it down. I found 3 markets that worked in my schedule that I applied to. I got accepted. So I'll be at Park Silly once a month, be at the Downtown Farmers Market once a month, and then up at Big Cottonwood Flea Market up at Brighton once a month as well.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah, so kind of making it easy and kind of like diversifying that audience that comes through, because that is the one thing that we've like figured out as we were kind of getting into it, is like, oh, each market has a different crowd, and then we kind of pick a couple different things that we're going to take to this market because we know this might do better here. And then sometimes we like kind of like surprise ourselves and we're like, oh, I don't have enough of that, so let's just throw this in. And I'm like, wait, that's sold out? Like that wasn't supposed to sell out here. The people don't like it here. What happened? But yeah, it is always the tough part sometimes with figuring out what direction, where you go, and like how you're gonna land with some of these new places you're trying and seeing. But that sounds great that the first go was pretty successful right off the bat. How have you evolved from like your first show to where you're at now with how your setup is and like what you bring to markets?
Well, first of all, I offer a lot more variety of like styles of clothing. So when I first started, I really started doing these 100% organic cotton pants, which is still my mainstay. That's still my bread and butter where I started. And I actually started making those pants because my son, who was born in 22, when he started walking, he had like short little stubby legs, and every single pair of pants would like fall over his feet around the house, and he would like trip and fall. And I was like, well, I'll just make you some pants that are shorter. So I actually took I made my own pants pattern, and then I like graded it out as best I could from teaching myself basically. And I now offer it newborn up to a 24-month size. And I've even I technically have a 2 and 3T and a 4T. I've had a couple custom orders where people are like, hey, can you make this in a bigger size? I'm like, well, give me your measurements. Let's make a pair for your kid. And so that's like the pants are my like bread and butter. And I love offering those in lots of different the colors and patterns and all sorts of different like sort of natural tones and all sorts of animals and wildlife species on them. And that's my bread and butter. And then this year I've really added on, grow with me styles. And that's more in the sweaters and long sleeve stuff that I'll have in the fall. I absolutely love them. You start out with the sweater being a little baggy. You roll the cuffs up a little bit on the kiddo. And then as they grow through 3 different sizes, you unroll the cuffs. It becomes a little bit tighter sweater, less baggy shape. And both of my kids wear their Grow With Me sweaters. They run the middle size, which is the one that sells out the most. It runs from 12 months to a 3T size.
Oh, wow.
So you think about how
run,
long your kid's actually going to wear that. And my youngest is in that size right now, and he wears about a 2T, and he still has his sleeves rolled up. He still has plenty of room to grow, but it looks super cute on him. Still stylish. And then my daughter is in the biggest size, and that runs from about 3T to 6 year, and she's in about a 5T. And I'd say that one probably actually goes up to, if she's in a size 7, she'll still be wearing her sweaters. So those actually, I'm finding out a lot of customers, like, it really resonates with them. They're like, yes, thank you. Like, my kid can wear this longer. It, justifies maybe buying something special and handmade that, you maybe otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. Because I do use a lot of organic cotton, which, that can be a little more expensive than, polyester-based fabric.
Well, the other thing, too, that we like is that it's not fast fashion. It's not something that is just being picked off the racks to then be thrown right into the landfills. It's something that's going to last the kid for the most part, because the kid's
Yeah.
going to outgrow it, and it can probably get handed right back down to someone else and keep going with them. So a higher quality handmade something like that is way better for like not only like the customer but for the environment as well in the long run.
Exactly.
That comes into play because you are a wildlife biologist.
Yeah.
So I know that's a little bit of your influence and why some of your print choices and everything like that. So
Yes.
wildlife biology to sewing.
Yeah.
And now it's like, where like, how was that like besides the children being an influence, where it's just like, hey, did you think it was like an environmental thing that I can maybe do this, or was there some kind of influence that kind of drove you besides the kids to the sewing world?
Oh, I don't know if there's necessarily like a direct tie between like the wildlife biology and the sewing. Ironically, like since I've been in the sewing world, I have since met a lot of other creative people who are wildlife biologists.
Oh, really?
Who are now not doing wildlife biology, but they're doing like creative endeavors. And I find that absolutely fascinating. I've met marine biologists, I've met other wildlife biologists that are doing creative things, whether it's sewing or other types of art.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I love bringing in the wildlife species that I love, that mean something to me, that I don't know, speak to me, and I bring those into the prints. So I end up having like a lot of bears, I have deer, moose. I try and get like local wildlife as much as I can on some of the clothing. That becomes a little tougher. But I do have some local wildlife like bison. I don't know if a lot of people know that bison are actually local here. You go up to Antelope Island.
That's one of our favorite
Yep.
spots to go.
We love going to Antelope Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Yeah, so I try and incorporate a lot of the wildlife species and native stuff where I can find it.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
kids' clothing.
Their prints are all super cute. I don't know if we mentioned on this podcast before, but Juniper's nursery is cryptid themed, but it's like woodland cryptid themed, and like I painted trees on her walls and stuff, and so like I love any of the like woodland little animals stuff. Is so cute. I love it.
That's adorable.
So let's go into your process a little bit of how it all goes for you. So you said you're sourcing some organic cotton, but you're getting custom prints done for it. So you learn that process. You've got also materials for the reusable diapers, sourcing that kind of stuff. So how does a regular, I guess let's talk about setting up for a show. What do you do, and like inventory wise, make to get ready for a show that you be like attending?
So you have to kind of pre-plan like way in advance what you want to do. And then you pick a couple prints that are maybe like seasonal, but not, for me, I like doing more seasonal than like holiday sort of theme. So I try and keep it a little bit more like seasonal, like a little bit of like spring color, or maybe a little bit of fall stuff. Fall's my favorite. I cannot wait to make my fall sweaters. They are sitting on the shelf right now, and I've got all of the patterns and the solid colors like matched up together. And I'm just like, every time I walk into the fabric room, I see them, and I'm like, I'll make you.
Like I'm coming.
I will make you. I've got plans.
Just
but
wait a
I
little
have
longer.
to do this first. So, but for setting up for market, I want to offer. So right now, with spring, I love these little mini waffle overalls that I've been doing. These little
Cute.
knotted overalls. I brought a pair. I should probably show you. I actually use some local fabric for them, and I absolutely adore them. And I found out from my first market last spring that people go nuts over them. I hung them out like on the end of the booth, and groups of like girls and women would walk by and literally squeal in delight seeing these. And I'm like, okay, maybe I have found something. Like, I mean, I think it's cute.
I would say there's nothing cuter than a baby in overalls. Like it's just the cutest thing ever, especially with the little diaper butts, like just filling out the little butt of the overalls. It's so cute.
Yes. So, and I love that it was local fabric, which was another, like, it's hard to find local stuff. Hard to find, especially I'm not a, I don't like use thrifted fabrics and that kind of stuff. That's not part of my business model. So it's a little bit harder to find local fabrics. But for my little mini waffle overalls, I love using this like tiny little waffle, and they're solid colors. And By the way, once that fabric is gone, it's gone.
Dang. Okay, noted.
So that is definitely one bummer of getting local, is that, you know, supply is definitely more limited.
Yeah.
But I made a bunch of those this year. I'm also working on making sure I have short sleeve rompers, this like cute little, it's got this like little side snap, almost like kimono sort of style. Those are really nice because they only have 3 snaps. So if you don't like zippers and you only want to do 3 snaps, like super easy in and out, those are some of my best sellers. Customers really, really seem to like those. And I get to make them in like all sorts of different colors and patterns. Like my favorite one I have right now has these absolutely gorgeous whales on it.
Cute.
And then some of the other things I really enjoy making for the summer are these like little t-shirt sets, just t-shirts and shorts, just simple, but everybody seems to really enjoy. Like my kids' legs are short, so like short shorts like can work, but long shorts don't work. So you need that like happy medium of like little shorts for kids. So the shorts that I've been putting with my t-shirts, they're little solid shorts with like a matching coordinating color on the shirts, and everybody's like, oh, these are great. They're like perfect shorts lengths. And I'm like, yep, that's like this is like part of the thing. Like if it doesn't work for my kids and I wouldn't do it with my kids, then I'm not going to make it.
I mean, that's an honest answer, because it is like, hey, these are the things I'm making everything for. And like when we talk about other artists and everything, it's usually we're making for ourselves, and we just find people who like what we're making. That's the fun part about what it is. But when we talk about like your process with everything, we talked a little bit before we started recording, like you don't have a big space for everything. So what does your, like, I've seen some of your social posts and stuff where you're just bulk running the same thing over and over. How is organization like work in a smaller space for you? Are you like just filled to the brim of fabric and like cuts?
Floor to ceiling?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a fabric oversupply because the colors and patterns are beautiful and amazing. I do have a room now that I can keep the fabric that is that I'm going to be using, or that I'm currently using, or fabric that's set aside because it's specifically listed on my Etsy shop, which is really important to make sure you have that in stock. But my actual like sewing workroom, I have my old standing desk, which I actually use. That's where I wrote my thesis, was at this like Costco standing desk. And I ended up finding an IKEA top and like tabletop in their as-is bin and put that on top of there. So now I have a standing or sitting cutting space. Just whatever you're feeling that day. Like you want to sit or stand. I love that part of it. I don't know if I could give up a
sit stand
cutting space. So I have started cutting out fabric in a little bit more bulk, and bulk to me is like I'm cutting out like 3 layers of fabric at a time instead of one.
That takes like, for those people who are not like sewists at home, like that takes courage, because fabric can very easily shift on you, can very easily get off, and when you're working with such tiny like patterns, like 1/4 of an inch makes a difference.
Yeah,
no.
Definitely.
That's a lot. Like I give you props for that.
I use these fabric weights, and they're actually from my grandfather, and they're those glass like bulbs type things that would sit on top of like a railroad.
Oh,
okay. Like power lines.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I have a bunch of them, but they were from him. And I don't know, when I was first starting to sew, I'm like, I need something to weigh this down. And I saw them sitting on the shelf. And
I've got a bunch of these. These are
perfect. So that's what I use.
That's perfect.
And they're heavy, and they hold the fabric down as I'm cutting, and they've done a great job helping me do that.
Perfect.
So do you have a process that is like, hey, I'm on Monday, I'm going to be cutting all my patterns out. On Tuesday, I'm going to be like laying everything and like out the next step of that, and then Wednesday I'm going to sew all of these? Or is it kind of like, hey, I need 10 pants today, I'm going to do pants? Or how does that work for you?
Oh man, I am not organized in that way. Like if I could say Monday I cut all this and Tuesday, so that would be awesome. But I'm a little all over the place,
Okay.
which is just how life is.
So you got young kids.
Yep. Yeah. But now that I'm doing more bulk cutting, like if I'm in the groove and I'm like cutting, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna cut out all the stuff that I want for the next couple of markets. And I'll go cut those out and I'll make sure they're all labeled with correct sizes, because that becomes an issue when you're cutting like 8 different sizes.
Yeah.
And then I'll be able to slowly work on those. Like right now I'm working on like 2 batches of these tank rompers, and I was working on today before I came here, and I'm almost done with them, but I cut them all out like 2 weeks ago. And then I've slowly been working on them for the markets, and I got one whole pattern set done, brought that to the last market.
Nice.
I'm remaking a few that sold out. And then I'm working on the second pattern, and I should hopefully have those done for the market this weekend. And that'll be a new print that I'm adding that I haven't offered before. So I'm excited to see that, but just kind of slowly working on it as I go, because then you might get an Etsy order. So then I'll have to pause that, or you have to, I don't know, go help out your kid's school and do movie night with your kid at their school. So you gotta kind of like go with the flow, and any of your plans are always just that. They're always just plans.
I'm fascinated by what you're doing, because like most of the people we've had on the show and most people we meet at markets, they're only making one-off pieces. They're making something that's like, hey, I found this like thrifted whatever, I custom this, and I don't have a repeat thing. So because you're making stuff of like the same pattern, of different sizes, of variety, you are small manufacturing like what you're doing. And that's I have all these questions of like, how are you organizing, how are you keeping everything in check? Because it is like, for us, like some of the stuff that we're like small manufacturing in the sense, it's stuff I can repeat on a small scale, but I don't have variety of sizes, I don't have variety of patterns, I don't have like I'm printing 10 of my prints, and I'm like, okay, here's my manufacturing of 10 prints.
Here's my 10
so
that
it's
I
very
made.
fascinating to kind of like dive into your process and understand like how that works, because how many garments do you take to a show regularly?
Oh man, I should actually count, but I've got a lot. I had to buy more bags to put them in to take them to the markets this year, because I have more inventory available. Like I had to ask my husband to help make another double clothing rack. So I now bring like 3 racks of clothing, plus stuff that's like laid out displayed on a table that isn't hung. So like all the little shorts will be laid out on a table instead of being hung up, or the knotted beanies.
Shelves on some of your displays as well.
Sometimes shelves, or sometimes I use a tabletop.
Yeah.
And some wooden crates to display stuff. Or I love this little folding rack, little wooden folding rack with the little pegs. I forget, like a grid, kind of like a grid wall, but like a little nicer looking with like wood. I love displaying stuff on there, like at the front of the booth, because it gives people a chance to see like a variety of like what you offer, because a lot of people won't step into your booth if they don't see something that catches their eye, and that gives me an opportunity to display some of like my current favorites of whatever it is we're making, and I get to just like put them right out in front for people to see, because you need to bring them in so then they can check out what's in your racks.
Smart.
Yeah. And so with all the different stuff you're making, all the different pieces you're doing, you talked a little bit about it at the beginning. You've purchased patterns, and we've seen on your social, you've linked out some of the patterns you've purchased. And so like other people can go out and make what you're making in some of that. But how much of now that you're, like you talked about your pants for your child, are your original pattern? How many other pieces do you have that are original patterns to your stuff?
So the pants are really the only truly original pattern that I offer, but there's a couple other of my Grow With Me sweaters that I've actually kind of modified and changed a few things, and taken some parts of it and actually like redrawn some of the lines and some of the curves, and then I have those as like a paper pattern, and I use some of those as a modified version of some of the Grow With Me styles.
Do you have future plans for new patterns? Because I mean, your kids are growing. So, and then is your also future plans of like larger, like children's sizes, not just the newborn to like 24-month kind of era?
So when I started, I was offering newborn to about 2T.
Okay.
And when I very first started, and then I had a lot of customers like, hey, do you do 3T? Do you do bigger sizes? So I slowly started adding bigger sizes, because every time you add one size, that's like another thing you have to cut out, and you have to make sure you have more than just your one print, and that you need to have like turtles and dinosaurs or something. So that was sort of the kind of growing pains I had last year, is trying to figure out, how do I still offer all the small sizes that everybody needs in baby, but how do I offer bigger sizes? So I slowly started adding 4T, and now I have up to 5T. Technically, with the Grow With Me sweaters, those go up to like 6 years, which is weird. I feel like 6 years like a weird sizing. We don't really say that when we're like buying clothes for our kids, but you're kind of out of the T range at that point.
Yeah, not toddler anymore.
Right? Oh my goodness. Right? That's what my kid's going into. She's still a toddler in my head. Yeah. So I will offer up to that size as we move forward. But I'm really taking a lot of time this year to figure out what are people looking for? What are the sizes that sell? What do people need? So for each market, I'm actually like really diving deep into the data.
Yeah.
And collecting data on sizing, what sells, what people like, what are they looking for, to figure out, like, should I add more, like, should I add 3 of this size instead of just 1 of this size? And so far I'm finding, at least so far this year, 2T and under are my best sellers. So I'll still carry 4 and 5T. I think in the fall and the winter, I think that bigger size will sell, because it sold last year. People were looking for stuff for like big brother, big sister kind of thing. But I think generally, when people are looking to buy handmade, it seems to be a lot of gifts. I get a lot of grandparents that want to, splurge on their grandkids, which I totally approve, because my parents do the same thing to their grandkids.
Well, and they makes great like baby shower gifts too, I imagine. Like something, handmade and special and unique. And
yeah. And I think that's where it shines a lot, is that, okay, they're a pair of overalls or it's a t-shirt, but it's literally like a one-of-a-kind t-shirt. You're not going to go to Walmart or Target and find this print because this was designed by an artist that, doesn't sell their art to Target.
You're getting that special touch to everything that you're doing with that. The process for going forward with some of those other ideas and patterns, what we've discovered is, now that we're in our 3rd year of like doing some of the same markets, we're starting to see that data and like starting to go, okay, now we can start like adjusting and figuring out, hey, this is working better here. Okay, we can make these kind of, so like you're right in that 3rd year like turn of like, okay, now I can see where this, like, okay, this year did this one, this year did this, these numbers, and we can kind of start now. I don't want to say forecasting, because I don't want to live in a forecast world. I want to live in like the now with what we do. But it is one of those, hey, we can, okay, let's start making more of these or less of these and kind of make that adjustment. Do you see plans as your kid grows up continuing down that line a little bit more? And like, or is it primarily you're just going to be like, okay, the data works for me here, I'm going to kind of stick in the like this younger
I think based on what I'm seeing so far, I probably won't carry anything bigger than that 5T or 6 year at markets. But if somebody wants something custom made, friend wants something custom made, I'm like, sure, let's get it made. And I usually try and keep a couple custom slots open at each market so that somebody can say, hey, like, I really love these pair of overalls, but I see you're out of the size that I need. Can we do something custom? I'm like, yep, we've got 3 slots. You can have one of those slots for, custom order. I did that actually a couple markets ago, and those little waffle overalls like blew my mind. And I had 3 custom orders for the little waffle overalls. I love it. And I'm like, yes, I will absolutely make you a pair.
Well, I did notice you also have really cute beanie on your Etsy. Are you planning on doing any more like little accessories? Because I love just the like the little
Yes.
everything little is cute, okay? But like the little accessories are just so fun. And
Yes.
especially, you know, I have a girl and she loves dressing up, so accessories are fun.
Yes. I've got little knotted headbands. I absolutely adore the little knotted beanies for newborns that I've been making. Those are the absolute cutest. I'll continue to carry those. Once we get into fall, winter, I'll have bigger size hats in a variety of colors and patterns. I have wool. I have a bunch of dead stock wool. So I know we've kind of talked about like environmentally friendly. Dead stock fabric is one of the ways, besides organic cotton and kind of stuff. I guess that is sort of like upcycled, thrifted fabric. I have a bunch of dead stock wool from a local company that went out of business. So I've been using that wool to make sun hoodies. I've got some now, and some have dinosaur spikes on the hood. So shout out to my friend who requested dinosaur spikes because her daughter loves dinosaurs. And I was like, yeah, let's figure out how to make dinosaur spikes. Like, let's do this. Yeah.
So you love it when a customer comes up with like the best idea and you're like, thank you. I'm now adding that to my to my offerings.
Yes. Always bring a notebook with you so you can like write down all those ideas. And
the keep notes on my phone is where those all go.
Yes.
And then sometimes I get to them quick. Sometimes it takes me a while to get back to them.
I feel like sometimes that's where you get like the best ideas is you're just like sitting at the market and you're like talking to a customer and all of a sudden you just like have it's like when you're in the shower and you just like have like all these like epiphanies about stuff. Like I feel like during like maybe like the lulls in the market, it's the same thing that happened. I get all these ideas and I have to keep writing them down.
I keep telling myself I need to put a waterproof notepad in the shower to like be able to take notes. And I just don't. I have the waterproof notepad. I have the waterproof pen. I just have not taken it to the shower.
Do it. That's where the best ideas come is when you're just like you're doing something else and you're just like kind of quiet. And then you get all these like wonderful ideas. So like I think that's probably like one of my ideas for the sun hoodie came about was, well, that and my kid needed sun hoodies. You know, it's hot here. Like, so I was very, very fortunate to find this dead stock wool and I'm making that. I'll be making sweaters. I'll make some hats out of it. So I really love like that aspect of it, that when I can, I'm able to find fabric and put it to use. Yeah,
and it also goes back to that, like, it's kind of one of a kind and unique that, like, when you got it, that's going to be probably the one or two that you're going to be able to make out of that dead stock stuff, and it's kind of, like, special. And that's super cool. I want to talk about going back a little bit on the process of things. When you take a pattern and you've done all your research to make it safe for kids, compliant for kids. When you take that pattern, about how long of like R&D, I guess we could call it, do you take till you like actually say, hey, I'm comfortable with taking this to market and like start selling it to people?
You know, it depends on the pattern. Some I've done one and I'm like, oh, this is great. It's one and done.
Nailed it.
You're like, this is good. This works. A lot of times I'll make something in a size for one of my kids and I'll try it on them. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I also kind of look at what can I make quickly that is awesome and beautiful and amazing, but it also doesn't take me like 3 days to make one item of it.
Yeah, that was my next question. How long does some of these garments take for you to make?
Oh gosh. So I'm working on a batch of like maybe, I don't know, say like 8 rompers. And cutting to finish sewing, that would probably take me at least 3, sometimes 4 days.
Okay.
Depending on like, you know, extra steps and that kind of stuff. I actually got a new tool recently that I finally dove in and started using. It's a binding attachment for a cover stitch machine. And
so jealous.
It is amazing, and it is a life-changing tiny little attachment tool, and I absolutely love the way it looks because it makes stuff look really professional. It's simple to use, and it worked better when I tried it than I imagined. Like, it didn't take a lot of playing around with it until like I got it to work like efficiently and do some really good professional looking stitches. This is key.
So you brought up a conversation we always like to bring up on here is the tools of the trade and what you use. Are you still using that $20 serger that you started off with, or have you like gotten a few other machines and running a couple other things now?
I still have the serger. It is on my shelf because I don't know if I will ever be able to get rid of that, because it is just, I have a lot of memories with it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
But since I've graduated, I bought another serger cover stitch combo machine. And I quickly realized that does not work for what I do, because a lot of times in the process of sewing, you need to serge up the sides, and then you need to cover stitch a hem, and then you need to serge something else. And so switching back and forth when you're trying to do like small production sewing just did not work at all.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a little bit better, but still a domestic serger. It's been a workhorse. I haven't had to take it back into the shop. It's working great. I can clean it out myself. It's been doing a really, really good job for me. And then I invested, my most expensive machine is my cover stitch machine. And I do not regret spending a ridiculous amount of money for that machine. It has made my life and my sewing life so much better. It is fast. It works. It does what I need it to do. Like when I got that new attachment for it, the binding attachment, I was able to just like put it on and it worked. And I thought long and hard about which cover stitch machine to get. And that one had so many good reviews, and I don't regret it at all, spending the money for getting a really good quality machine that makes your life run so much smoother. I'm not cussing at my cover stitch anymore.
I mean, you can on our show, but we can let it be implied. Nice.
If you had advice for people trying to get started, I mean, not necessarily in the sewing world, but like just in the overall market, creative world, if you had like some kind of advice that was maybe given to you early on that you could share with somebody out there listening, what would that advice be?
I would say just go for it. Start applying. Find a local market that, you know, if it's one you've been to before and you feel comfortable there, you like the vibe of it, you think it fits with your style of art or whatever you're offering, apply. Find out how to apply and just dive in, because you're not going to know if it works for you or how it does for you until you take that step and you go to your first market and you put yourself out there. And it's a little nerve-wracking. But once you do it and you're like, okay, this is either for me, it's not for me. And I've had markets where I haven't sold anything. Like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen to all of us at some point where you don't sell very much or you don't sell anything at all. And that's okay. That's part of the process of figuring out what works for you, what works for your products, like what you want to sell and who your audience is, like where works for you.
Yeah, it's not an overnight success. There's not it wasn't something that just, hey, this happened and we're now like full steam ahead. It's taken a lot of time. You're talking 5 years now that you've in this process. 3 years of that was just getting comfortable with the sewing machines for your kids.
Yeah.
And so at this point now, like you've got a lot of potential of like where you want to go with it. Do you have future plans of how big you want to take this?
I feel like other people have a lot of big plans for me. They're like, you should do this, or you should sell here. Have you thought about selling over here in this, having your stuff in like a store? And I think maybe someday, but really like as a business, I'm about as big as I can be right now.
Yeah.
To get bigger, I would have to hire, people to help me sew and maybe even have a shop outside of my basement.
Yeah, manufacturing at scale is a big step forward kind of thing. And it's not always the right thing for a lot of businesses. Sometimes it's like, hey, you know what? I really just enjoy putting my hands on all this stuff and getting this out into people kind of thing. So that's totally understandable and okay. Like that's not, I don't think it's the end all be all goal for everybody to go that direction.
Expand and get bigger.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want to do. I like
Yeah.
working in my basement. I like making and putting my hands on stuff. It's very hard sometimes for us to go, oh, let's outsource that small little piece and get that done. I'm like, well, we could probably do it here in the basement. Let's just try it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. We probably don't need to take an extra like 2-3 weeks to learn how to do this, buy another tool, spend all this money. Like we'll just spend the $40 and get someone like a tag made or something from somewhere. But it is, I get people all the time. We cut our own stickers. We print everything here in house. But it's like some people are like, well, just send it out to the sticker people and they get it done. I'm like, yeah, but it's not the same. Like it's kind of, so I totally understand that kind of feels like, oh, how far do you want to go?
Also being a mama too now, like this gives me the opportunity to like work at home. My daughter's going to start kindergarten in the fall. So that's going to be a big change for us. And I would like to be around when they need me. Yeah. And, if you're, working in an office or, if I end up taking it outside of the home and work somewhere else, that flexibility may not be there. Yeah. Where, you could put them to bed and go back downstairs and work for an hour.
Yeah. It is that scale of like, oh, I have responsibility to employees now. And that's a whole nother level of like understanding of like stress and like having space for them and being able to do all those things. So yeah, sometimes those aren't always the right moves for some certain people, and that's not what everybody wants to do. So yeah, it is always that hard balance of how far, how big, where is that life balance. And I think for me and Christy both, I don't want to speak for Christy 100% here, but we do like this little like bit that we have, and that we have the time to go spend with Juniper and spend, and like, hey, also that she can come down and be part of everything we are doing as well. That is one of those fun things, because I can only imagine you've had interactions that are great memories with both your kids being in the sewing room with you and like trying stuff on and being your little test models and like R&D models and everything, and seeing how quickly the crotch might wear out or the seams get ripped or any of that stuff with all the things. So that is all stuff that's enjoyable, and you kind of sometimes lose that when you get to too big of a scale.
Yeah, that is a great point. Like I'm just thinking about the last time that we took the kids to the park and they were wearing clothes that I made, and they both wore holes through them because they found a concrete slide. What? I mean, it was cool, but like they went down on their butts and then on their chest and like ripped
an actual concrete slide, or so made to be a slide.
It was made to be a slide, but it was made out of concrete. And I mean, it was smooth, but it was definitely like it's gonna rub holes in all your clothes. And there's no clothes that would withstand that.
No.
So there's a park back in California that I knew they had a dragon concrete slide. My mom used to work at that park, and like it was paid to entry, and like there was like, I remember going down that concrete slide, but also they would give you wax paper to sit on to then smooth out that concrete slide.
Next time bring wax paper.
That is brilliant.
Oh my gosh. Your kids don't think it's the best thing ever.
They would not stop going down. And I was like, well, okay, you just got to call the loss and be like, they're going to have holes in their clothes. It's fine. Yeah. Like, another time I was at a market and my son was wearing pants that I made, and he fell into the little creek that was behind us. He was soaking wet top to bottom. And I'm like, it's fine.
Just grab something off the shelf. Like, well, this is our inventory now.
And that's something else I want people like to understand about the clothes I make. Like, have your kids wear them. It's okay if they get holes. It's okay if they get ripped. Like, they're supposed to be, they're for kids to play in. Yeah. It's okay if they get stained. Like, all the clothes that I made for my kids eventually have stains and they have holes in them, but they still love them and they still wear them.
Yeah. And so that's awesome. I want to make sure everybody who has listened to this episode can go find more information about what you're doing, website, social, any of that stuff that you want to share, that they can kind of find and see what you're doing and keep up to date with everything.
Yeah. So the best place to find me is on Instagram. I'm at Spotted Fawn Baby Co. And that's where I post what's going on, little clips of me sewing and where I'll be and where you can find me. And then if you want to see what I have on my Etsy shop, I'm at Spotted Fawn Baby Co. on Etsy as well.
Awesome. Channing, thank you so much for coming down and sharing everything about us. It was a great conversation. Super excited. I loved hearing about how it all kind of is growing for you and the whole build process and everything you got going, because I mean, that's the fun part about what we do and the passion that we like kind of put forward with everything we're making and why we do it. And so That's gonna be our episode though. And so I do want to thank you guys for tuning in, listening, watching, however you guys do consume our show here. But if you guys have any local artists or any makers, creators that you know in the local area, please feel free to let them know about us. We like to have the conversation and hear all about their passion projects and all about their stuff that they're making. And then also like, comment, subscribe. It helps us out in the long run. And so we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.